Today we're not talking about sports cars or supercars. Instead, we're talking about luxury RVs. I've been testing this Grech RV Strada-ion over the last couple of days, and I want to give you a tour and a bit of my experience and how it's been like living in a luxury RV for the very first time, I might add. So with that, I also want to thank Grech RV for sponsoring this video and making this content possible. And so let's get into it. Now, we should talk about what the Strada-ion is. It's the biggest Class B motorhome that Grech produces. And the ion in the name refers to the lithium-ion battery pack inside that replaces your traditional generator. So essentially it goes like this. You pull up to a campsite and you have all the power you need. No need to plug in anywhere because of that battery pack. And also you don't have to run a noisy generator at night. So items such as, we'll see in a second, with this touchpad up here, that we control absolutely everything in the motorhome. But you open the door, there's an automatic step that comes out, making it easy to get in and out of. And so as we step in, we have this touch panel up here that basically controls everything. And I apologize, it may be a little bit difficult to see because of the glare, but basically from here we can manage the batteries, we can control if the step is on or off, and all the other essential things that we need to control about this RV. So the Strada-ion is based on the Mercedes-Benz Sprinter 3500 extended chassis, but Grech makes some unique touches to, well, make it its own. Namely with the standard air suspension system, which is standard on the Strada and Turismo models. And it's supposed to smooth bumps on the road, and in my experience, does a pretty good job. It's very comfortable to drive very long distances and many hours on the road, whether you're riding in it or driving it. Now, this particular RV is 290 inches long and 116 inches tall. Now, being a Sprinter, you get a 6-cylinder turbo diesel engine, which has more than enough power to move this RV along. And as we were crossing big hills and such on the way here, it was never running out of power. In the fuel economy aspect, we were averaging about 15 miles to the gallon, which is about on par for the class, and pretty respectable. Now, from an aesthetic perspective, the Strada-ion sort of hides in plain sight. There's nothing too flashy drawing attention to the fact that this is a luxury motorhome. Sure, there are touches like this extended bodywork here, which is all bolted in very firmly. This is not going absolutely anywhere, but there's no weird graphics or anything to really call attention. It really blends in, so if you want to sort of travel in luxury but not have anybody else necessarily know, this is the way to do it. Now, one more thing I want to touch on before we jump inside. Behind this stainless steel paneling is where all of your valves for dumping live. And there's these neat little clips that hold it in place so it doesn't sort of flap up and down. You have your black valve, gray valve, the waste hose, which actually lives down here. If we open this up, lives right down there, and you can pull it out manually, but you can press this button and it'll retract automatically, and here's where you hook up to flush the whole system. But once we put it back down, you'll see it all hides neatly in plain sight. Again, not disturbing the rest of the aesthetic of the motorhome. Now, to step inside, you tug on the handle once and it opens the automatic sliding door, and you also have an automatic step, which can be enabled or disabled by the panel up there. Although frankly, I like it because it makes getting in and out of the RV quite easy. So why don't we come inside? Let's talk about the driving portion of this RV. And if you are familiar with any current Mercedes-Benz products, then this steering wheel will look quite familiar. Same kind of switch gear and these sort of swipe type buttons that control your pertinent info for the driver. No digital instrument cluster, but that's absolutely fine. Now, to the central infotainment screen, it is a touchscreen, and it has Apple CarPlay and Android Auto connectivity and your climate control down here. It is a single zone, but that's absolutely fine because they control the temperature for the driver and passenger. But if you want to control the temperature in the back, you simply tap this screen here, and you can control your climate right there, auto, high, low. And also, if you click this button here, it opens up a ventilation fan, which that's just the motor opening up. It's much quieter in practice like it is right now. That's in medium, and in low you can barely hear it, but it really helps ventilate the air inside of the cabin. To turn it back off, basically hit the down button and it auto retracts. No need to put it up or down. Obviously you don't want it up when you're driving down the highway, or else it will definitely fly off. Now, we should talk about these seats. So you see they have this white leather finish, and this material was actually chosen for its durability. Grech did a bunch of testing, sort of scratching the surface over 36,000 times, and they picked this material as the most durable for long-term use. As you can see down here, there is a leg rest, nice sort of subtle bolsters. It's more focused on comfort than anything else and does a good job at that. Same goes for the passenger seat. Now, as we move back to the sort of second row of seating, they don't have the leg rest, but they do something very, very cool. Now, the Strada-ion comes in two configurations. This is the lounge configuration, which you can see because you have two seats in the front and two in the second row. Now, the cool thing about this seat is that if you get down and pull on this lever, you can slide them forward, but thanks to a lever on the side, you pull that, like so, the seats will swivel. And that's not just this seat. All four seats will swivel, so I'm gonna do that and I can show you. Through the magic of editing, now we have four perfectly swiveled seats. Now, the process is slightly different for the second row than it is for the first row. The handle for the second is on the right. The handle for the front is just below the center of the seat. Now, you might be wondering, what is this on the floor for? Well, if you're sitting with four people, you may want a table, and thankfully there is one. So here's the table setup. It uses a metal pole that bolts onto the floor, that little plastic cap that was there before. You basically press the button, release it, and you basically slide in this. And it basically means you can play a board game or work or really just lounge around and have a meal with your family while you're on your vacation. Now that we've talked chairs, driving, sizing, let's talk about storage, which is very important. Now, Grech includes all of these overhead storage bins. You press the button, pull on the knob, and plenty of space. And the same goes as you move all the way down the RV. All of these bins here are for storage. Now, that table that I showed you earlier actually stores back there. So if you look in there, this is the tabletop itself, and the metal pole for it has these little clips so it doesn't just sort of move around while you're driving. Very neat and sort of stored away. And because it's kind of flat, it doesn't take away from your actual cargo space. Now, if you need more storage space, you can open up bins up here and up here as well. There are no sort of working components of the RV hidden up here, so it's all for you to use except one. This one right here. Open this up and you're gonna find your Timberline heating system and your dual battery solar charge controller. This controls where that charge from the solar panels up top goes. Currently, sort of in the standard mode, 80% goes to the home battery, 20% goes to the van battery. Now, this little heating system, it looks tiny and it looks like sort of just a display, but it's actually a touchscreen. You touch it up here and it opens up the sort of heating element. What it can do right now, it's heating up the cabin, and you can tap up or down to increase the amount. You can heat up the water, so if you want to take a warm shower instead of a freezing cold shower, you can do that. And the bottom right button sort of expedites the system. It makes it heat up as quickly as possible and deliver as much power as possible. Now, this does not run off the battery. This actually uses a little motor for that heating element. So it's separate, and you can run it basically all night without worrying about draining the battery. As long as there's diesel in the tank, you're gonna be warm. Now, everything you interact with is controlled by this touchscreen up here, but actually there's two of them. If you come this way, you're gonna find your television right here and a second touchscreen up there. It controls the same things as the one in the front. So for example, if I wanna use the bathroom or the sink, I can turn on or off the water pump. It also tells me how much fresh water, the fill of the gray tank, the black. It keeps you up to date on everything. But even most importantly, it controls major systems like the sofa, the ottomans, the awning, which I'll show you actually right now. Now, to open your exterior awning is actually quite simple. It's also done by the touchscreen. You put extend, and you're gonna see up top, the whole mechanism starts opening up. And this is the kind of thing where you think it's done opening, but it's not quite. It just keeps on going. This awning is absolutely enormous, and it actually has a wind detection system. And there you have it, fully extended awning. Obviously in this case, the sun is hitting this way, so there isn't as much shade, but it is absolutely enormous. You could fit 2 chairs, make a sort of your own little makeshift living room, and you don't have to carry any additional equipment. So to put it back up, same deal. you just hit retract and it neatly retracts back onto the roof where it came from. Before we jump back in, I want to show you this screen here so you can actually have your door open but not worry about bugs and mosquitoes getting in, but you can enjoy the full breeze from the outside. And it's manually operated, very quick to easy and open. Let's go back in. So let's talk interior amenities. Now in front of me, I have the first of 2 televisions, although word of warning, if you're gonna be using the remote, you wanna be careful of where you're aiming it at because you might accidentally be changing the channel for the TV in the back instead of the front. So for families, something to consider. Now, in the sort of kitchen area, we have this induction stove top and the sink right here, which is covered by this neat little cover. It sort of blends in when you don't need it. You have your faucet. You have a little drawer for spices and such. Microwave, tiny fridge, which is actually not that tiny, actually holds a pretty good amount of. When we were staying here, we basically used this as our pantry, as it holds a lot of stuff, honestly, a lot of food. And the good thing I like about these storage bins is that they're really well insulated. So as you're driving around, you're not hearing your food moving around, or as when you hit an imperfection on the road, it doesn't just rattle the whole thing. It's actually quite refined. Now, the bathroom is in here. Pull the latch and voila, the door comes open. You have your toilet. This is actually a pretty sizable bathroom for being in a Class B motorhome. There's tons of space. You have your shower, your curtain to the right. This up here actually is another ventilator. So as you're venting the front with the one I showed you earlier, you can also vent the bathroom as well in case things get smelly. There's also a window if you want to say hi to the world as you go, but obviously there's this pull down shade if you don't. From an interior lighting perspective, it looks like a friggin' airliner in here. And so you can control that all by the same touchscreen that I showed earlier. You go to the lighting panel and you can basically turn on or off various sections, ceiling, accent. If you don't want it to be colorful, you can have just sort of normal lighting, but it looks kind of cool, so we're gonna leave that on. Now moving to the rear of the cabin, you can sit down here and you have your sofa with 2 ottomans here or additional chairs for people. Doesn't matter, there's belts everywhere. If somebody wants to ride back here and enjoy the airiness and all the windows, they can certainly do that. But basically you have your second TV, your sound bar on that side, and your other touch panel up there, which is how we manipulate some of the things back here. But the cool thing about this setup, other than it transforms into an almost king-size bed, is the fact that it doesn't eat up all of your storage space. Because if you move back here, there's even more room to store stuff. And there's actually a screen that deploys from there if you want to open the rear doors, have more of that breeze come through without any unwanted bugs. So I'm going to show you how to put the bed together. So first things first, we come to our screen up here, and we're going to be extending the ottomans. So as you see that way, see one of them is coming out. And the other, they sort of meet in the middle and seal that section off. So if you come with me, the backrest of the ottoman pops out like so and gets jammed in place like that. Same goes on the other side. That's how you start building sort of this half of the bed. Now for the finishing up the bed, you basically hit down on the sofa, and if you look back there, the whole thing starts to fold down. So here we are in full bed mode, shoes off, of course. And Grech provided enough room in these sort of seams to hide all the belts and stuff, so you're not just laying on your seatbelt when you're trying to sleep at night. I'm 5'10". This bed is about the size of a king bed. More than enough space, very, very comfortable. Now, once you're in bed, ready to go to sleep, you're gonna want all the lights off. And you can hit the master light off switch to go back to the lighting setup. Master off, and as you can see, the whole cabin is dimmed, but there's still quite a bit of light coming in. And to help with that, you can go back to the shades section and hit the master shade down. And if you look around the cabin now, all of the shades are coming down on the fronts, the sides, the rear, absolutely everywhere. And let's let that go down a little bit further. Once you get to this point, it's pretty dark back there. So even if it's a very bright day, as long as you cover the front windows, it gets almost pitch black in here. So if you've been driving for a long day, you want to take some breaks, you can definitely do that. So for couples like ourselves, there's a ton of space in here. Like I mentioned earlier, I'm 5'10", and I can confidently stand up without hitting the ceiling. I think you could be about 6 feet tall and fully stand up without a problem. But if you're, slightly smaller, you're gonna have a easier time with that. But for the most part, for couples, there's a ton of space. We could easily spend a week in here. There's enough space for clothes, food, the bathroom, the tank's pretty big. Frankly, as a first RV experience, I'm kind of spoiled. This is really effortless. The fact that it's completely self-contained, you don't need to plug in anywhere, you have your battery system, and for example, like right now, we're staying in the desert, there's enough sunlight for those solar panels to keep us charged even if we don't move anywhere. So we could really be out here for quite a bit of time. And for being my first RV experience, this feels like a really well put together product. I spend most of my time reviewing supercars, luxury cars, and it's really easy to throw around the sort of luxury name when something isn't luxurious. But I think the good thing about this RV is that it takes care of a lot of problems before you even think about them. From the driving perspective, the drive aids help keep you on the road. You have plenty of tech, smartphone connectivity. The seats are comfortable, they swivel around, there's tables absolutely everywhere. There's no sort of designated seating area here. You can sit up there with the table, sit back there and work, lay down, cook here. There's a lot, actually, it makes a really good use of the available space. So as a luxury experience, we define luxury as something that sort of takes away your worries and makes it easy to relax. This RV is pretty damn good. And there we have it. Thank you guys so much for watching. I really hope you enjoyed this video, and please make sure to like and subscribe if you want to see more of them. I'm new to the RV world, but I'm open to it. And once again, I want to thank Grech RV for sponsoring this video and making this content possible. This is obviously, like I mentioned earlier, my first RV experience, but if this is anything to go by, it should be pretty exciting to dive into some more. If you want to learn more about the Strada-ion or any of the other products that Grech RV makes and sells, please make sure to visit the links in the description and follow them on all their social media channels. Till next time, take care.